Well, back to election night in New Hampshire. We told you that the state was called for President Biden and former President Donald Trump at the top of the show. Both races were called just minutes after the polls closed at 7 o'clock our time. Joining us to put it all into perspective is political analyst Brian McClung. We appreciate you being here. A couple of things to take away from this tonight. Let's start with Minnesota's Dean Phillips. He wanted to get 20%. That's what he got. But does that really mean anything?
Right. I mean, that's our local angle. Right. Minnesota congressman is running. Now, I will say that it is pretty remarkable for a relatively unknown three-term congressman from Minnesota to get 20% of the vote in New Hampshire. But let's put it in context. Joe Biden, who wasn't even on the ballot, is going to get around 70% of the vote as a write-in. So that's still a 50-point loss. So I know that Congressman Phillips is, trying to build some momentum out of this and plans to keep going. But realistically, as you look at it, 20% New Hampshire does not create a path to actually winning the nomination.
How far do you think he can go, or will he go before he drops out?
Well, it's all of this now is a matter of maintaining support among your donors and making the case to them that there's a reason for you to still be in the race. So now Dean Phillips can self-finance to an extent and recently put $5 million of his own money into his campaign. But at some point, you just have to see the writing on the wall and say, I've done what I could, I've made my case, and, we've got to move on.
Speaking of done what I could, let's switch over to the GOP ticket. Former President Trump clearly winning this tonight. Nikki Haley, the last challenger in the race. She said she's going to keep fighting on. Should she, and how far can she go?
Well, you do have to look at Nikki Haley's growth from Iowa to New Hampshire. She got a little less than 20% of the vote in Iowa, and now coming in at around 45% of the vote in New Hampshire. So she has made significant gains. But now from New Hampshire, she goes to her home state of South Carolina, where the polls show that she is trailing Donald Trump by about 30 percentage points. So that is a really tough margin to try to make up. The governor there is backing Trump. Tim Scott, a U.S. senator that she had appointed to office, is backing Donald Trump. Most of the members of Congress. So that's going to be tough. I do think she'll stay in and at least make that final case. And I think she has the support and resources to at least run it out through South Carolina. She's got about 1 month until that vote. So we'll see if she can change some minds there.
We have about 30 seconds left. Let's talk about, ultimately, we're probably looking at a rematch, Biden versus Trump.
It would look like that. And I think most Americans are going to want to just turn off their television sets, except for KARE 11 News, for now until November. Really, it's a rematch that polls show the majority of Americans don't want. We've seen this movie before. And so ultimately, it's going to be a matter of who shows up to vote in November that's going to determine, as it always does, the outcome of that election.
Brian McClung, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.